Hello, I am your Anju ma'am, and today I start my class, and that is social science and history first chapter. So today I start naming centuries. Look at here. That means in my previous class I discussed that means the time and place is very important factor while we discuss history. So a few important terms in my previous class I discussed, and there we got century. So century, how we name the centuries and what is the time period is all about. And century means, as you know, that it is 100 years. 100 years is called century. And here, that means here is an example. First, here is in this paragraph, here is an example given, and with this example, let's discuss. That means if some event occurred in 12th century, then so 12th century CE. So CE means Common Era, and we are naming the century. That means the event occurred in 12th century. But the name and the time, there is a difference in name in the time. For example, here given, that means the years from 1100 Common Era to 1199, and this period fall in 12th century. So we say, here is another example given, that we know that it is a historic year for us, that 1947 we got our freedom, and this year happened. It looks like that 1947, but this very event falls on 20th century, not 19th century. If 19th century, then if any event occurred in 19th century, like another important historic event, that is Sepoy Mutiny, I know, you know, I think, and that is 1857. So that event occurred in 19th century. So students, now look at here, that the year now is 2021, and this if we have to name the century, we have to say that we live in 21st century. Another example here given, that 1447 Common Era is said to be in the 15th century Common Era, and this one, look at here, very interesting things, 361 BCE, before Common Era, or you can say before BC means before Christ, also before the birth of Jesus Christ, this one, and this event or this time falls in 4th century BCE. Now next topic to discuss is the geographical framework. So earlier I told you that in history, while we discuss history, one important topic is what is time. Time is one important topic, and another important topic is place, and that's why the title of the first chapter is where, when, and how. So now we are going to discuss the that word, that is where. That means that means some incident happened or occurred in which year, that is time, in which year that incident happened, and it is very important also in which place that incident happened. That means time and place are the two important factors in history while we discuss history. So we need now, so when you have to discuss about a place, we have to know the geographical framework. It is very important, and geography, this one, that means geography helps us to find out the location of the places where those incidents happened or events occurred. So this is very important. So we should have a little knowledge of geography also while we discuss history. Like here some civilizations name mentioned here in your book, like Egypt, Mesopotamia, Indus, China, and very interesting things you notice. I think all the great civilizations occurred in our continent, that is Asia. And these civilizations happened or located in or around the river valleys. So let's check this one in our next topic. Let's see what is given in the next topic. So now while, as I told you, that that means while we discuss history, geography plays a very important factor, and that's why here is given that the history of Indian subcontinent also been influenced by physical features of the land. So why this one given? That means what about let's look about the physical features of India. So first the Himalayas. So as we know that our Indian physical features is not same, it is different. In the northern side of our country, there are mountainous areas, and if you go to the southern part of the country, then you can see the that means coastal areas. So like this, in the western side, northwest, there the dry lands are there, and in the northern means especially northern place. Next topic we shall discuss. We have a stress of land, of fertile lands we have. So before discussing all these things, let's discuss the first physical feature, and that is the Himalayas, and what is its impact on history. Let's see this one. So Himalayas, as you know, it is a large that means range of mountains, and it stretches across the northern part of our country. And actually the Himalayas it becomes a natural barrier. The word you can see here, barrier, you can say it becomes a natural wall, like like a big concrete wall. That means the invaders, foreign invaders, could not come could not attack our country from that side. So let's see this one. I can show now. Let's see in our map, then you can understand it very easily. So this is the range of Himalayas. It stretches from north of our country and up to northeast. So this is a high mountain, and as you know, the highest peak of Himalaya is there in the Mount Everest. Not only Mount Everest, there are so many peaks are there. It is a natural barrier, and from this side the foreign invaders could not enter. So its opposite side, look at here, opposite side, it is the northwest side, and the foreign invaders entered our country through this side. So now look at here. So that's why, that means not only foreign invaders, the people, that means as India is a very cultured country, it has a rich heritage, so people traveled India, students also come to India to read in Indian universities, and the foreign invaders also, they entered our country through the northwestern portion of Himalayas. So this is while that means as I told you, here is already mentioned that many people come to our country as for doing business, travelers also and invaders also came to India through this passage. Yes, in this side there were also mountains are also there, and there they come to but it is an easier or for them to enter our country. Now next move to the next topic. So as I told you that the southern part of India, that is you can see the seas and oceans. So seas and oceans, the sea, and if you look at the map of India, then I can show you that the three part of India, that the southern part of India there is Indian Ocean. If you look at here the western side of India, there is Arabian Sea, and in this opposite side there you can see Bay of Bengal. So it formed a peninsula. So now let's look at the topic here, and there is a long coastline. And the three sides, this protected the peninsular in India from attacks. So this is a long coastline. It has its natural ports, harbors. So it encouraged trade for many years, especially to many countries, to Europe, Mesopotamia, that is present day Iraq, Egypt, Southeast Asia, to Indonesia, that at that time it was called Java. So the kingdoms of South India, and that's why they had a strong navies, and they established overseas colonies in Southeast Asia and Sri Lanka. That means if you go to some countries like Singapore, then you find there, so that means still now also South Indian people living there. So this is the actually region behind this. So let's go to the next topic, and that is Northern Fertile Plain. As I already mentioned that northern plains, that look at the map. From the south of Himalayan mountaineer areas and to the, that means Vindhya range, and Vindhya range is in the middle of our country, and it actually divides the country from north and south India. It is a mountaineer range, and this area is very fertile. That means our fertile India's fertile land is divided into three parts, and that is northern fertile plain is divided into three parts, and that is, one is Ganga basin, another is Satluj basin, and another is Brahmaputra basin. We are living in Brahmaputra valley, and this area is very fertile. So why it is fertile? That is very important. That means these plains lying between Ganga rivers, and it is a vast expanse of fertile land, and because of this land is very that means people living in this area, and that's why very that means population of this area is highly dense. That means the area has highly densely populated area. So the fertile nature of the plains encourage the growth of agriculture, and that's why in that means many powerful kingdoms, empires like Mauryas, Guptas here established their kingdoms in this area. So next move to the next topic. So now the next topic to discuss is Deccan Plateau. So this let's look at the map. You can see here, this one is the Deccan Plateau. Now, do you know what is this one? This is southern part of our country, and usually we call it that we call the, or we term the area as Deccan. And Plateau, the term, it is an upland area. And these are the coastal areas, and these Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats, these are the sloping areas actually of these two Ghats, and these are simply you can say is a hilly area, and as I told you, this is the upland hilly areas, and is a sloping part of it, and here starts the coastal areas of it. So simply I say this one. And now let's move to the topic. Here this Deccan Plateau, this separated, that means already I mentioned, by Satpura and Vindhya mountain ranges. So here because of these two mountain ranges, that means as literally these two mountain ranges separates North India to South India, and at that time it is very difficult to that means the invaders to cross these two high mountains, and that's why the word isolation is used here. Lonely, that means. So there had different kingdoms, regional kingdoms were there. This is the region. This is the region. That means because of these two mountains, other invaders could not come to this region, and that's why there were several regional kingdoms. You can see those were Cholas, Chalukyas, and Rashtrakutas. These are the very famous kingdoms established in this area. So students, I hope you understand this topic. Read at home, and if you don't understand any topic, then you can contact me in my personal WhatsApp number.